public to attend just on their own.
It would be even a good idea if they were to come to the June 25th meeting and get...
Hear the presentation themselves.
On the discussion.
They would hear what we've discovered about this.
On the website, because that gets pretty good coverage.
Can we call a question?
Yeah, I was about to do that. There is a motion on the floor. Let's call a question on that motion, Rick's motion, of having a... read it again, George, so we have it exactly.
Rick Charette made a motion to schedule a meeting before the next planning board meeting to be scheduled on June 25th for the purpose of discussing the proposals that SRPC wants to bring before the planning board.
Do we have a time for that meeting?
We've had all the discussion on that. I think that is necessary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It passes. And we will meet here at 6:30, I presume, or is it a good hour for everybody? We'll meet here 6:30, June 25th, and get right into this document. Yes?
I make a request that you don't click your pen. I've had several complaints they can't hear what people are saying. And it's very loud.
Yeah, okay.
Many people do it. You're not the only one.
I got it. We can. That's pretty funny.
I'll trade this one twists.
No, it's all right. I can do nothing.
Don't give him a tube pen, like a spitball shooter out of it.
Ed?
I'd like to make a motion that SRPC be contacted to set up a presentation for our regularly scheduled meeting.
Good.
Second.
Any other discussion on that?
I think that's a good idea.
Huh?
I think that's a good idea.
That would be the July 9th meeting.
Yeah.
Give us enough time on our special meeting to set for a public hearing if we want to.
Because the same,
We think that that's going to be appropriate.
the same theories apply. If we wait for them to schedule, they may be a month or two out, and all our discussions might go kind of to the back of our brains. So,
Right.
2 weeks to read it, have a meeting, discuss it. 2 weeks, have a presentation. We can discuss with them, and then maybe 2 weeks after that, we schedule a
Public meeting.
public meeting.
My suspicion is that they're not going to procrastinate too long. It's not going to be September before
Yeah, but we're Brookfield, you know, the big metropolis, so that might be on the
Sprawling.
on the sprawling metropolis.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe on the tail ends of their.
This is only assuming, though, that they're available for the 19th.
Right.
Well, that's...
Well, let's see now by making a motion,
The
they can
9th.
contact them
The 9th,
the 9th.
July 9th.
Well, let's find out.
Discussion with us.
Let me ask
Basically
this.
a month from now, if you contact them right
Are
away.
all Mondays open?
I have no problem with any Monday.
How much time do we need to move a planning board meeting to a different Monday night for the posting? I forget.
10 days.
I don't have it off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
That's in the rules of procedure.
10 days.
For the hearing, I think. For a regular meeting, I don't think it's.
When
very
can
long.
you get back to
It's like
us?
3 days.
I'll call in tomorrow.
Yeah. It's pretty short.
Okay, then why don't we leave it at this? We're going to meet on the 25th no matter what.
We do have a motion on the table.
Okay, what was the motion again?
Yes, Ed Nixon made a motion that SRPC be contacted to make a presentation at the next regularly scheduled planning board meeting, which is at July 9th, 2012.
Second?
Yes, the second was Rob Collins.
Let's vote on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Done. Okay,
Who's going to contact them?
Ed,
Okay.
I would say this, that we're going to meet on the 25th to discuss this. We'll know then whether SRPC can come on the 9th. There's no reason, if everybody here is amenable, that let's say they can't come on the 9th, but they come the following Monday, that we could move our meeting to the 16th, or when they can make it and have their regular meeting on that day. Is everybody good with that? Well, then you'll know that.
I'll gladly move the agriculture meeting out of the Monday slot, first Monday.
Can you do that? Okay.
I can, if we need that Monday.
If we need it. All right, then let's leave it at that. We'll find out from Ed what the deal is, and then we'll go from there. Interesting, something's happening that's out of the ordinary. Anything else on this? Anybody else have any other thoughts before we move on?
Just a question for my own curiosity. What happens if the town, the selectmen vote it all out and say, we don't want to deal with it?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
We don't receive the benefit.
Okay.
The initial benefit.
Because at the end of the day, this comes down, if I understand correctly, this comes down to if we sign this agreement, we become eligible for more grant money.
We get bribes.
Correct. I wouldn't believe bribes would be a correct term.
Incentives.
And we
Incentives.
become eligible to be told what to do as well.
Okay.
You're dealing with the devil.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Can we have a copy of that email attached to our minutes, just for the record?
Yeah, absolutely. George?
Since we've discussed it this much and everything else,
Yeah.
somebody should be able to get a hold of that.
Well, public comments, we've been pretty much into that anyway. So this issue is on the table till the 25th of June. Anybody else have any other public comments?
There are more books coming. They're
Okay,
still searching them out, so that's what we have so far.
good. Thank you. Thank you for your efforts. Okay, let's move on from there and review and approve, if they're adequate, the minutes of the meeting. Gotta find them here. There it is, Monday, May 14th.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment on the date on the minutes. The date on here, on which it was signed, says 4/13/12. The date should be, excuse me. It should read, should read 5/18/12.
Oh, at the top?
No, at the bottom on
Page
page
four.
433.
Okay.
It should read 5/18/12.
5/18, okay. Yeah, all right, okay, yeah. Yes, that, of course, was the date of the meeting. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, on the first page, item Roman numeral 3D, I think it should be made a statement rather than made a stated.
Yes.
Made a statement that all member statements.
Just cross out the MA'd A. How's that?
That works too. You got that, George?
Yes.
Thanks. Here's how we address that to Mr. Chairman. As I was reading, as I was being reminded that that's what we should be doing.
Okay. With an American flag behind us.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the planning board minutes from Monday, May 14, 2012, as amended.
A second.
Any discussion?
Is the CIP and the road committee and that thing on the townhouse part of this meeting?
Well, I presented them, it's work I'd done on CP, and they're attached
Okay.
to the minutes, but only as addendum, not as part of the meeting, so that, you know, there's no review necessary there, it's just, they were attached to the minutes.
Okay. Was it second?
Jim seconded.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. The motion passes. We're done with that. Okay. Old business. Okay, CIP, cost projections of roads. I've handed you this very simple document. I think everybody's got one.
This is a handout from tonight.
Yeah. Now, I had some old stuff that was done as on CIP prior, but the thing that I'm referring to tonight is the May 12, 2012 dated one. That's in it is the formulas that I was referring to and the description of how they're employed. And before we have any discussion on it, you should take a look. Now, the reason I included these other documents from previous work that I've done on CIP is that it's not just our purview to list the assets of the town. That doesn't take too much effort. And it is impossible to predict where those assets are going to be in 5 or 10 years because weather conditions and other things affect them. Consequently, these other things, when I came up with what the mission for CIP is, that's in those other documents. And I believe the mission covers every single base that we can possibly cover. That makes sense. So the formula, I think, is self-explanatory. It's pretty simple.
Question, Gary.
Yeah.
The other two are the same as what was handed out at the last meeting?
No, they're not. I don't think they are. I have to look at them, to be honest with you. CIP, what I handed out last time was just stuff that we had done as road committee members. I'm just going to pull the minutes up to look at them here. They're similar documents, not the same. Most of this had to do with the road committee work that we did and things that had to do with the townhouse and how those problems should be corrected. The selectmen asked me to come up with this. So I did and gave it to them, and I'm just giving it to everybody on the board because it has to do with CIP. Whether it's what I've outlined is done or whether it isn't done is irrelevant. We've had a $10,000 assessment of what should be done by a firm, and you know that's another avenue. I just think that we should all know what the avenues are. Yeah. Wow.
Mr. Chairman, curious, okay, so I read this and it makes sense. So, but I'm curious what the process that we're going through is. Because my understanding is that from our rules of procedure, we're supposed to form a committee to work on CIP. And the committee's constituents are defined by the rules of procedure. And I'm curious what the status of the committee formation is.
Well, you're on the committee, and we haven't really elected a chair. This is something, my understanding is that the planning board can work on as a whole and be the committee, or they can appoint a separate committee which involves the public, and we can involve the public in this. However, I'm not asking for work on this CIP at this moment. I'm handing out something that I desire to put into the CIP report. Now, this is not an ordinance we're working up for the town that they're going to vote on and it's going to become law. This is just going to be a report to the selectmen on what our recommendations are for. It's still a fledgling thing. I just am handing all this to everybody on the board so they know this is a contribution that I am desirous of seeing in the report. I don't care where it is, and it is subject to being worked on by the members of the committee or the board in terms of verbiage, but not in terms of the formula. The formula is a simple, concise, it is what it is, and it does what it does. As to whether I've been too verbose or whatever, that's another story. I don't care about that. We can all have a little input if we want, but the method of computing costs is what it is. It's not assailable, it's never wrong, it is what it is. And that's the portion that I insist go in the report. As far as all the other things that are stated in there, some of them are very relevant to the process of estimating, but we can change the paragraphs around. I mean, we all get into that little bit of making things more clear for people to understand, and that's fine. We can do that, and I'm not saying to do it at a regular meeting. I'm just handing this out because I said I would hand it out. We got into a heavy discussion about this at one time, so here it is. Take a look at it. We're going to put it in your folders, take it home, and then we're going to have to appoint a chairman of the CIP committee. I was the chairman for a while. I have some more work that I've done on the roads that I'd be willing to give the new chairman, if there is a new chairman, and go from there. And that's what the report is, this is what I promised I would hand out because there was so much discussion. I don't want to go into that and work on CIP tonight. I'm just handing it out for everybody's edification, and so be it.
Thank you.
Okay. So, great. I have no objection to any of that. My question is, maybe I'll try asking again. What is your plan for CIP in terms of how we're going to work on it? Are we going to form a committee?
Well, I think we already have.
Okay. So, can I have your indulgence to read, just to refresh everyone's memory, our rules of procedure that kick in the event that we do a committee, right? Okay, so I'm reading from Planning Board Rules of Procedure, amended September 13, 2010 is what my page says, page 15 of 16. This is in section 17, Committees, 17.2, Capital Improvement Program Committee. And then in parentheses it says, in the event such a committee is formed, which it sounds like we have formed one. The purpose is to aid the Board of Selectmen in their consideration of the annual budget and to define and recommend the long-term capital needs of the town projected over a period of at least 6 years. The research and information gathered by the Capital Improvement Program Committee shall be consistent with the master plan, the goals and needs of the town. A draft capital improvement program shall be developed with supportive documentation to be submitted to the Planning Board for review and final preparation prior to submitting to the Board of Selectmen. The CIP committee should be comprised of 1 selectman appointed by the selectman chair, 2 elected and/or alternate planning board members appointed by the planning board chair, and 4 members of the general public appointed by the planning board. All terms of office for 1 year. So that tells us, according to our rules of procedure, if we're going to form the committee, which I believe you've said we are, we need to get the selectmen to give us a selectman, and we need 2 elected or alternate planning board members, which I believe is you and me, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, I'm willing to do this, yeah.
And 4 members of the general public.
That may be difficult, but maybe not.
So just so I'm clear, your intent is to have the committee, and therefore we are going to form it according to the rules of procedure.
Well, we can either do it in that format as a committee, or we can do it as a planning board as a whole during regular meetings.
Right.
Those are our 2 choices.
I believe that's correct, yes.
So we have to make that decision on how we want to do it. I suppose I can make that decision, being the chairman, but I don't particularly want to make those decisions without the input of everyone here.
I believe a couple months ago, we had a motion to form the committee.
Yes, we
That
do.
was approved by the
Yep.
board.
Does everyone feel that that's the way we should go? We can always change that if we wish to.
I agree, we can always change that.
Does everybody want to go with the committee, or do we want to work on this as a planning board as a whole? Gives us something to do, although it seems that we have other things to do here too.
I agree with forming the committee as we did last year. One thing is we want to confirm Cliff's comments that the selectmen do desire additional input and make sure that they're not stepping on the feet of the road committee assigned by the selectmen. And Cliff did mention that last week. He wasn't here, but last meeting, I should say. And for the desire to come up with formulas and other solutions to present to the selectmen.
So we have a committee. You want to chair the committee, Rob?
Wait a minute, who's on this committee we got?
He's on the committee and I'm on the committee. If we
Who's the
can,
4 people?
another
Who's
member.
the 4 publics that are on the committee?
We don't, well, we'd have to go out and seek and find. I mean,
Then
we
we don't
don't,
have a committee.
well, the committee's been voted on and it exists. Now we have to find people that will,
Did we make a motion
No,
a couple months ago, did you say, to form a committee?
yeah,
I believe we did.
yeah.
So that means we don't have one yet, right?
It hasn't been formed yet.
Right.
But the committee exists in the sense that it's in formation. We don't have to vote on that again.
Right.
So now we have to find the selectmen, and I'm asking Rob if he would like to chair the committee.
I make a motion that we pull the CIP back into the planning board.
Okay, and have it worked out at the planning board level. Anyone second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, let's discuss it.
I think that CIP program, we're talking about roads and 2 buildings.
Yep,
Do we have to
pretty much
form
3
a
buildings.
a big committee of 7 other people other to research this? I mean, are we loaded with work yet?
Not really.
We got this
Granite
SRP thing that we're gonna read an email and some stuff from HUD. Other than that, I mean, we used to be, the first time I heard of the CIP, this place was bombed with that Moose Mountain thing and that whole, a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have a lot of work. I don't think we need a committee.
Well,
If it turns out that we try this and we do have a lot of work or something comes in, maybe at that point, we'll break off a committee, but right now, what are we doing?
I don't have a problem with it. Anybody else want to comment on this? Rob?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the results would be, if we can form the committee and get the public input and get the selectmen's rep involved, I think that we're going to end up with a stronger report because it'll have more viewpoints. And I think I expressed a couple months ago that I think that if we do form the committee, we should work really hard to get those 4 members of the public to actually be members of the Heritage Commission and members of the Road Committee. So that, because we're going to need to talk to those guys anyway, we need to have, our report has to be consistent with what those other representatives in the town are going to be telling the selectmen. Doesn't do the selectmen any good to have, you know, two completely different viewpoints on the road, state of the roads and what the plan should be, from the road committee and from the planning board. It doesn't help them, right? And so I think that we would actually benefit a lot by drawing on the expertise of the road committee and the heritage commission, because between the two of them, that covers most of the interesting parts of our capital in the town.
Okay. Is there any reason why they can't participate in the meetings that are relevant to those subjects on the planning board level? As opposed to, here's what I see as a problem. I've asked a dozen people, and these are people that are pretty motivated people to get involved with this stuff. And next year maybe. I mean, it's pretty hard to get 4 members of the general public on a committee. You know this.
I understand.
If you're going to get some people, according to this, it's a requirement that there be 4.
If we form the committee,
There's a requirement.
that's our rules of procedure, yes.
Yeah, so there's a requirement. If we don't get 4, then technically what exists? A non-committee? Trying to be a committee? Whereas if it's done at the planning board level and we can get 2 or 3 members of the public that are interested enough to get involved, I guess what he's saying is that we could dedicate a portion of the meeting to that particular aspect of things. Maybe rearrange the agenda and say we're going to work on CIP. We've all been on committees before. How long do the committee meetings usually last in the evening? Rob?
A couple hours,
Couple hours.
at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were how
Last
often?
year in the road committee, we go out and look at a couple of roads, 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
There were times when this planning board operated on a bi-monthly schedule, but I don't know that I'm going to suggest that. But it might be something that's viable to have a 2-hour, I mean, how many times a month did your committees meet usually? Your committee, the one that you were on, once, twice?
Yeah, I think twice a month.
I don't know, how does everybody else feel about this? Rick's already,
Actually, Rick, you had your hand up, I'm sorry.
All right, more discussion. I'm not an expert at this, but the CIP stuff sure sounds like planning work to me, and we got a bunch of elected planners in this thing here, elected by the town to take care of planning business. So my motion is what I said for the motion. It stems from that. We're elected as planners. Let's do some planning.
okay. Ed, and then,
I missed last meeting, but the meeting before, I think, is when we voted on whether or not to form this committee. And at that meeting, under member comments, I think, I don't know where it is, George would have to look it back, but I highly recommended that you contact other towns to look at their CIP plans, because it's my personal feeling we don't need all this in-depth information. And if I'm correct in my thoughts that it's more of a basic concept and idea of where the town should go with their assets, then there's not a lot of work to do that we could not that we couldn't do it at a meeting, and I would support Rick's amendment, a motion to do it at the meeting level. Does that make sense? Does everyone understood the point I was trying to get across?
okay, well.
So I'm sorry.